running is not going to be ideal for losing body fat.
The number one thing we actually recommend clients do is walking.
All of those fast, jerky movements are going to put you at a much higher risk of injury.
You can get cardiovascular benefit from anything that's raising your heart rate.
The key thing is making sure that you are lifting a amount of weight which challenges you.
If you do the right type of training, you'll look and feel great all day, every day.
It will put your hormones in a place where it's more difficult for your body to burn body fat.
So the best type of exercise really to be doing around menopause is hello and welcome to the Trinity Fit Over 40 podcast with me, Rob Burkhead.
And me, Ben Hughes. We are the co-founders of Trinity Transformation and creators of the Fit Over 40 method. And together with our world-class coaching team, we've helped more than 7,000 women over 40 to fit back into their favorite clothes over the past decade. To find out more about what we do, head to www.fit40info.com.
So in today's episode, we're going to be doing a Q&A all about different types of exercise and whether they work around menopause.
So all of these questions we've got today for the Q&A, they're great questions, and they came from a video called Stop Doing HIIT Around Menopause.
Lily Woodhouse asked, is running any good? ? And she's given you a kiss as well, or me a kiss, maybe.
Excellent. Well, this is a good question. As you've hinted to there, Rob, it really depends on what we're trying to achieve. So I think the best thing that running is for, the thing that is going to be most effective for, is if you really want to be good at running. If you're someone who running is one of your main goals, maybe you're trying to work towards doing a half marathon or a marathon or some sort of obstacle race or something like that. Maybe you even just want to do the couch to 5K. The only way you're going to improve your fitness at running is by doing running, essentially. So yes, if you want to be good at running, it's a good thing to do. However, if one of your goals, and I was going to say about 90% of people, but I'd say 100% of people who we work with, we specifically, we focus on helping people lose weight, tone up, feel better in their clothes. For us, for our clients, it's all about body composition. It's all about losing body fat. It's about building strength. It's about looking better, feeling better, being stronger. And obviously going in with that as well, we also do help our clients to improve their overall fitness. We want them to be fit and strong. We want them to be injury-free, and we want them to be able to carry their improved health by reducing body fat and being stronger into their later life and, stay fit and able to do all the things they want to do with their families. If losing weight and toning up is the goal, I'd say running is not going to be the best strategy. And there's a few reasons for this. So the first reason for this is because cardio exercise, especially as it becomes more intense. So especially if you're going out and you're doing really intense runs when you're getting your heart rate up really high, they do have benefit. So doing that is really good for your cardiovascular fitness. It's going to help improve kind of your heart and lungs. It's going to improve that. But at the same time, around menopause, women become very sensitive to stress and very sensitive to the stress hormone cortisol. And when you do that intense type of workout, the body sees that as quite a high source of stress. So it will ramp up your levels of that stress hormone cortisol. This can then trigger what is called the weight gain triangle, which is leptin resistance, insulin resistance, and thyroid deregulation. Basically, I won't go into loads of detail with it, but it will put your hormones in a place where it's more difficult for your body to burn body fat, and it's more likely that you're going to store body fat as a result. So essentially, if you're trying to lose weight around menopause, running is probably not going to be the best possible strategy. Aside from that, though, there are other reasons why running is not ideal. Another one of these reasons is because cardio, and especially long duration cardio, so if you're running at kind of a medium intensity and you're doing it for a long period of time, for example, if you're training for a half marathon or a marathon and your training runs are getting into kind of the 1 hour, 2 hour range as you're training for that, your body basically tries to make you more efficient at running over that long distance. Your body will always kind of optimize for whatever you do with it. A good example of this is if you break your arm, or you break a leg and that arm is then put in a cast, and you will lose muscle in that arm because it's been immobilized. You'll see people, when they take their arm out of a cast, they'll have like one thin arm where the muscle is kind of wasted away because you simply haven't been losing that muscle. And that's just an example of the body kind of optimizing itself. Just think, this muscle is taking energy that we don't need, so let's reduce that muscle. So when you do long duration cardio and kind of running, your body is thinking, right, we're doing a long form of exercise here. We're not really, we don't need a lot of muscle strength here. And if I just reduce the size of the muscles, then that's going to make me more efficient. So you'll find that you'll lose muscle on your legs, you'll lose muscle on your bum, your legs and your bum will just they'll start to feel less firm. So, this will result in a loss of weight because you're losing that muscle mass, but really it's not something you want. Because by losing that muscle mass, there's lots and lots of disadvantages of that. Firstly, you've got less muscle to support your joints, so you're going to be more at risk of injury. Secondly, muscle is a very metabolically active tissue. Basically, what that means is just by having a lot of muscle, your body needs to burn a lot of calories just to maintain that. So the less muscle you have, the less calories your body is burning on a daily basis, just going about your business, meaning you can't get away with eating as many calories without putting on body fat. So that kind of reduction in muscle mass is not ideal if you're trying to lose body fat. You might become really efficient at running. And again, if running is your goal, this is just kind of a consequence of trying to achieve that goal. But if you're trying to look and feel your best, it's not going to set you up to feel your best. And if you, for example, look at different athletes in the Olympics, just as an example, and you think about the athletes who do like a strength-based sport, so things like, weightlifters, even like 100-meter sprint, those kind of explosive strength-based events, they'll be very, very muscular, very toned, very defined. And then when you go to the endurance type events, so you have people who are doing like the 10,000 meters, that kind of thing, or even just marathon runners, they're very thin, they have very little muscle. They don't necessarily always have a physique where you look at that and you think, oh, I'd love to look like that. They almost look kind of, they're just like very thin. They're very kind of frail and thin. And that's kind of not what you want to be, especially as you're getting older. You want to maintain as much of that muscle mass as possible so that you can maintain your fitness and your mobility and everything into old age. So in a roundabout way, basically, running is not going to be ideal for losing body fat. It's not going to be ideal for maintaining muscle mass. If cardio is your goal, it's going to be great. And then the final reason that I want to cover, which would be a reason not to focus on running, is because it does carry quite a high injury risk. I think there are ways to do running where you can avoid injury. And I think that's going to be, if you build it up very slowly, you've done it for a long period of time, your body is very conditioned to running. If you're, and you're maintaining a light body weight, so you're not putting that much stress through your joints, then yes, running can be a good form of exercise. But for a lot of people, running tends to be kind of the default exercise that they'll go to, especially after a long period of inactivity. They'll think, oh, running's easy. Oh, just, it's very accessible. You just need a pair of trainers. You go outside and you just go for a run. The problem is if you're carrying a lot of extra weight, first of all, your joints are not going to be conditioned to the impact of running. You put quite a lot of impact through your knees, through your hips, through your back. It puts a lot of impact through your joints running. And if since the last time you ran, you've gained a couple of stone, and suddenly now you're carrying all of this extra weight. So every time you run, every time you take a step when you're running, you're putting more impact through those joints. It's just going to be a matter of time until you start feeling pain in your knees, till you start getting shin splints, till your hips start hurting, your back starts hurting. And then once you've picked up that injury, that might put you out of action for a period of time, meaning your activity level is going to drop. The body fat's just going to start piling back on because you've just put yourself out of action from running. So adding in that injury risk to the equation, I would say if you're looking to lose body fat and tone up, running is not going to be ideal. If you're looking to improve your running fitness and maybe take part in an event, running is going to be the way to do that. However, you've got to consider what is your previous training history. So for example, we have clients, some of our clients, we will say, yes, fit in some, you can put in some runs into your program. And usually those are clients who running has been a part of their life for a long period of time. They're used to doing a lot of mileage. And what we'll usually do is maybe we reduce that mileage down and instead we get them doing more strength-based training. But that's okay for them. But for somebody who hasn't been doing running, I'd say it's not something you want to include in your overall program, and there are much better forms of exercise you could do instead. I don't know, Rob, do you want to cover if running is not the ideal thing, which probably people have got from me hammering on about it for a while. What should people kind of be doing instead? What's going to be better?
Yeah, so the foundation of any fitness program from anyone, sort of from age 40 onwards, so from early perimenopause onwards, for the rest of your life, really should be LIST, so low impact strength training. This is so important for so many reasons, but the most important reasons are from about age 30, you start losing 1% of muscle mass every year. So if you didn't do any strength training by the age of 60, you'd have lost at least a third of your muscle mass. Although it's now thought this accelerates through the menopause transition, so potentially you'll lose a lot more. You also start losing bone density from perimenopause onwards. And between the age of 50 and 54, you lose 4.4% of your bone density per year on average, or women do on average. So that's about 25% of your bone density in 5 years if you don't do the right things. And this is just based on the average population who are not doing LIST. They're not doing strength training. They're not activating the osteoblasts that build the bone density. They're not building their muscle mass. But the research shows you can counteract all of this with the right type of exercise. So you want to do something that's low stress, that's low injury risk, and that's going to build back that muscle and bone, which will then keep your metabolism higher. It will make your body firm and toned. But it will also translate, I think this is the thing a lot of people don't realize, it will translate into all your other fitness. So running up hills will be so much easier if you have a lot more muscle. When you roll your ankle, like I haven't rolled my ankle and injured it since I was a teenager, because that's when I started strength training. If my ankle rolls over, it doesn't get injured because I've got strong muscles, joints, and tendons around it that just support it. I catch myself and it's fine. So muscle translates into so much more than looking amazing, which it will do, but it also translates into you being better at everything else. You'll be able to walk up hills with your family and not get out of breath because your legs are strong. They power you up there and you don't even notice it. So the best type of exercise really to be doing around menopause, the only thing that you have to be doing if you want to counteract aging and look good, is LIST, so low impact strength training. And think of this as kind of like, I use this analogy a lot at the moment, but the cake analogy, this is the main body of the cake, whether it's a sponge or some other type of cake. That is the only part you need to have a cake, is the body of the cake. The running or the other type of exercise we're going to talk about today is kind of like the sprinkles on top. They're not essential. You can get all of the benefits from just strength training. If you do it properly, your heart rate will be raised. You'll still get cardiovascular benefit. I was speaking to a client literally yesterday who was saying, I'm not sure I'm working hard enough, but her heart rate was still getting up to 140 doing leg training, which is as much as it will get up to for a lot of people when they're running. So she's still getting all of those cardio benefits, but she's getting the strength muscle building benefits that you can only get from strength training. And she's getting the metabolism improving benefits of those things. And it's doing it in a low stress way that doesn't trigger that weight gain triangle you talked about before. So that is what I would recommend. What other questions have we got, Ben, around other types of exercise and whether they should or shouldn't fit into the program?
Imagine living in a home that you've cherished for years.
You've done your best to keep it in good condition,
But no matter how much you clean, paint, or repair,
the problems keep piling up.
the cracks are showing, the roof is leaking, and it feels like everything is getting worse despite your best efforts.
For many women, losing weight around menopause feels just like that,
You've tried diets, workouts, and advice,
but the results don't come and the frustration keeps growing.
that's where our Fit Over 40 private coaching program comes in.
Think of us as your expert renovation team.
We know exactly how to fix the root issues, rebuild your confidence, and create lasting results, just like restoring a home to its best condition.
If you're ready to finally see results that last, click the link in the description below now. Let us help you restore the body and the life you deserve.
Next question we've got here is from Cindy, female online coach. And it's a good question because I know you've just been talking about strength training. So her question was, what about CrossFit? I can't figure that one out, if it's effective for women in perimenopause or not.
Yeah, so this is a particular sort of fascination of mine because I've done many years of CrossFit. I don't do it anymore. And therefore, I've been in it, and it's a little bit of a culty thing. So I've almost been biased towards liking it. I'm not in it now. I'm out the cult, and I'm out because I had quite a bad injury. I tore my shoulder doing it, but I was doing it at relatively high level, competing and things like that. But for the average person doing CrossFit, there's good and bad. So the good part of it is there's quite a lot of strength training focus. And it's way better than a lot of gym classes where they pretend they're lifting weights like body pump, but the weights are much too small and it's actually cardio masquerading as weights. In CrossFit, usually quite a lot of the classes will start where we're just going to do heavy back squats, or we're going to do Bulgarian split squats, or some sort of heavy weightlifting movement with low repetitions, which is actually the best thing to do around menopause, is low repetitions. Some specialists now, like Dr. Stacey Sims, think literally like 3 to 6 repetitions could be best, but you need to be pretty experienced to do those those rep ranges safely, because you need to lift very heavy to get the most out of those. So typically we go a bit higher. But a lot of CrossFit is focused around that rep range and around heavy lifting. That's the good part. The bad part is the WOD, which is the workout of the day, which sometimes will be the whole session, or if you're competing, will be a lot of it, which is where you do a variety of different movements, constantly varied movements is what they call it in CrossFit, with heavy weights, with gymnastics, with body weight movements. And it's very dynamic. You do lots of things like burpees, burpee box jump overs, muscle ups, handstand push-ups, handstand. And even if you're not so advanced, you're going to be doing like handstand on a box push-ups. And you're going to be doing all of this whilst really fatigued and really tired and pushing your body to the absolute limit to do it as fast as possible. And I'm not this person, unless you're someone who can really take a step back and adapt every session to be more gentle, to not spike cortisol too high and not trigger that weight gain triangle and really make it more strength-based, you're going to be stressing the body far too much. We've talked about cortisol being a big problem. You've got to regulate it. I was exhausted, and I'm 35. I was exhausted every day after doing CrossFit. My body really hurt. My knees ached. I felt like I was 80 years old. I would hobble around the house. I'd go back, I'd warm up, I'd feel okay again. I'd get it done again, and then it'd repeat. And it's this kind of extreme form of exercise. And it works very well for people who are younger and who are naturally athletic. So my friend who's still in his 20s is competing at a high level, and I was at a similar level to him. But now myself and pretty much every other person in their 30s who's going is injured and can't keep doing it. So everyone I know from the gym, and that's the people in their 30s, the guys in their 40s and the women in their 40s were in an even worse state. They couldn't put their shoulder over their head anymore. They were still trying to keep going around it. And a lot of the women I noticed who were at my gym in their late 40s, in their 50s doing it, they obviously really enjoyed it, which is great. And I never said anything, but they were developing this sort of menopause body of gaining more and more fat around the middle, despite going 4, 5, 6 days a week to CrossFit. And that is very typical of high cortisol and overstressing the body. So you can overdo it. And in most cases, unfortunately, with CrossFit, it's just too much. Like, I've stopped doing it at 35 as a man who doesn't have menopausal hormonal changes because the injury risk is too high. It's too intense. And I was actually feeling worse, even though I looked great. And I've managed to maintain that still without having to do such extreme things. But I look good, and I felt good in the moment doing it because, you're sweating and you think, this must be working really well. But I don't look any different doing something way less intense, doing a lot more list training and just using the cardios as like the sprinkles on top of the cake, which is kind of just coming back to that cake analogy. A little bit of cardio here and there as sprinkles on top is good. But if it's, it shouldn't be the base of your cake. If that's the case, then you're probably going to not look and feel the way you want to around menopause.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, when I know me and you, Rob, we used to do more like bodybuilding type of stuff. That was our main thing. That's kind of where we really started, was bodybuilding. And if you look at bodybuilding as, the aim of bodybuilding is to create the best, most sort of aesthetically good looking body subjectively that you possibly can. So you're trying to be low body fat, you're trying to have a lot of muscle mass and have like a good looking physique, which doesn't necessarily need to perform at all. Where CrossFit is more about creating a body which is for like, performance. It's like, how much lifting and cardio and everything can you do? So the difference between those two things is CrossFit's just like you're getting really good at hitting loads of nails into a thing. Basically, you're getting really good at hammering in nails. And then bodybuilding is you're getting really good at building a house in probably the laziest and most efficient ways possible that you can build a house. And kind of what we're doing, our clients, they're really looking for building that house rather than hammering in the nails. They don't want to just, they don't want to be like a super athlete. What they want is to look their best. That primarily, our clients want to look their best. They want to feel amazing in their clothes. Obviously, we also help them to improve their overall health and fitness, which kind of goes with it. But essentially, yeah, CrossFit, if you want to be like that athletic performance is your main thing, I guess it can be a good way to do it. But if your goal is more of a visual thing, feeling great in your clothes, there's just much more efficient ways and less, as you said, Rob, less kind of risky ways of doing it, which are not likely to lead to that kind of being injured or anything like that.
The last thing I just want to say on that is, if you want to feel good every day as well, it's not the right thing to do. Like, you are competing, even if which doesn't make much sense. It's basically like trying to compete like an athlete. Even if you are 45 or 55 and you just want to feel good on that walk with your family or that cycle ride or that active holiday, that ski holiday, for most people, it's too much. You're going to have awful knee pain. My knees have never felt better now, but when I tore my shoulder, it was a massive relief because now I can actually deal with all of these things. I've just been hammering and damaging my body really. But you kind of get hooked on it. It's a bit like running. A lot of people get hooked on running because of the endorphin high you get from really extreme exercise. You need to really move away from that endorphin high, and you'll feel better rather than just feeling better in the moment when you do your run or you do your CrossFit workout and then you feel crap the rest of the day because everything hurts and you don't look the way you want to. If you do the right type of training, you'll look and feel great all day, every day. You'll have more energy for everything, for work, for family, for picking your children up and down or your grandchildren. A lot of our clients say they can do that now. It's much more functional if you do a better balance of mostly strength training and then sprinkle a few cardio things on top. Now, I know you said, what about the next question? And we want to get through them. So the next question is from Sab010. Interesting name. So she said, what about bungee fitness or aerial yoga? What are your thoughts, Ben?
So things like bungee fitness, aerial yoga, and I guess there are lots of other things you can kind of put into that same category. So most kind of gym classes, there's like dance classes, there's all sorts of different things that you could do. You could do Pilates, you could do regular yoga. Basically, there's lots of different kind of group exercise things that you could go to or that you could try. Again, as you said before, Rob, I'd say these things are like the sprinkles on top of the cake. And I know we have a lot of clients who they go to these things like bungee fitness, aerial yoga, whatever it is, and they really like the social aspect of it. They like socializing with the people there. They like the group. They like the group atmosphere. And if that's the reason that you go, I'd just basically be very clear about the fact that that is the reason that you go. Know that it's not necessarily essential for you to see the best possible results. You really want to be focusing on that list instead. But if you want to go and do that as something for fun, I would say go for it. I'm not one to sort of stop people from doing something that they enjoy. However, with all of these things, it's not necessarily going to give you much benefit in terms of seeing the best possible results, losing body fat. If you were only to do these things, we've had many, many clients who they've been doing like 5, 6, 7 multiple gym classes, sometimes even do 2 sessions a day of all different types of classes, and just seen 0 results from it. Because I'd say classes they're a good way to just kind of get your body moving, but they're not specifically programmed for you and for you to see the best possible results. They're more about just getting a group of people together and just getting them all moving and getting them all kind of having a good time. So if you're looking for that enjoyment and to have a good time and you really like the classes, I would go for it. One thing I would be wary of is just the selection of what you choose to do. So anything that is getting you doing sort of intense movements. So think if you're doing like, you're finding you're jumping around, you're doing burpees, you're like bouncing like crazy on a trampoline, stuff like that. All of those fast, jerky movements are going to put you at a much higher risk of injury than something gentle. If you get injured, then you're not going to be able to do the things that are actually going to make a difference, like the low impact strength training. So I would say if you're going to add in additional stuff, add in gentler, more low impact stuff. So things like yoga, things like Pilates, probably aerial yoga as well. I'm sure that's pretty fun if that's what you're into as well. And things like swimming, like gentle swimming, going out hiking, even cycling, going for a gentle cycle. All of these things can be great. And if you keep the intensity really low, then it will burn additional calories. You'll get additional benefit as well, especially from things like yoga. You'll get benefits in terms of flexibility. It will help with your core stability. It will have kind of benefits which can support the sort of bulk of your routine, the list training, the sort of main body of that cake that you need in order to see results. So in terms of bungee fitness or aerial yoga, I would say go for it if it's something you enjoy, but just know that by itself, that's not going to get you the results. That needs to be just kind of that's just the sprinkles on top of the list training that you really need to be doing to see the best possible results.
Another analogy I've thought of for this is it's kind of like meeting with people is meeting with people. You'll bear with me on this. Like if you're meeting with your friends for a nice chat, that's really fulfilling. You feel good about yourself afterwards, but it's not a career. It's not going to make you money. It's not going to pay the bills. If you're meeting at work and you're with your team or with your colleagues and you're solving problems on a project, that's going to get the job done and that's getting you paid. So some things pay the bills, which the strength training does. And then some things, if you've got time, you then go on top of it, which is like meet up with your friends. And that's kind of what this other exercise is like. It's like the thing that makes you feel good that you can do if you've got the extra time to do. And we're all for that, as you said, Ben, as long as it's in balance, it's not too much. Some people are really overdoing it with it. So I think it's just getting that right and understanding what these different types of exercise do. And we always then get questions, someone goes, well, what about this one? What about that class? And I think the point is pretty much all fitness classes, you said it, Ben, they're designed for entertainment much more than results. It's very hard in a group format to get good results. CrossFit is one of the things that comes closer if they didn't have so much intense stuff at the end for menopausal women, at least. It's quite good for people in their 20s. But generally training on your own with something that's specific and personalized to you and works around all your injuries is going to get you much better result. So what other questions have we got, Ben? I think we've got a couple more.
So next question is from Wee Susie. So she says, what cardio would you suggest then, as that's important for our health?
Yeah, great question. So there's definitely this, it's sort of an understanding, but a misunderstanding that we must do cardio for our heart health. And heart health is really important because from menopause onwards, when estrogen is lower, your risk of heart disease and other heart-related problems does go up because estrogen is heart protective. And as estrogen levels drop, you then don't have that natural heart protection. So you need to be more careful. The biggest killer of women post-menopause is heart disease. So we definitely want to keep our heart healthy. But the thing people don't seem to understand, it's not very well educated, there's not good information out there about it, is you can get cardiovascular benefit from anything that's raising your heart rate and raising and dropping your heart rate. It doesn't have to be cardio exercise. So if you strength train properly, you will still raise your heart rate. You will still get your heart rate up to 120, 130. On lower body movements, I've seen clients get up to 140, 150 beats per minute whilst you do that set and it comes down. So you're effectively still getting all the benefits of interval training and cardiovascular training, but you're doing it in the strength training format. So if you're strength training properly with heavy enough weights, you will get that. If you're not doing it heavy enough and you're just kind of lifting these little tiny weights up and down, you're obviously not going to get that benefit. So the foundation, you can still get from strength training. If you then want to add stuff in, the number one thing we actually recommend clients do is walking. And that might not seem like cardio exercise, but there's a couple of reasons that it's really good for your health. One, getting outside, getting the daylight, getting the vitamin D is really good. But if you walk and you walk up hills, that's going to get you that cardiovascular benefit. And on top of all of that, it's going to burn some extra calories in a very low stress way, which is what we really want around menopause. Outside of that strength training, everything else needs to be relatively low stress most of the time, unless you're trying to be a competitive athlete and then you've got to eke it up as much as you can get away with, which is still a lot less than you probably used to be able to. For most people, we want to keep stress as low as possible, especially if your work is stressful, your family life is stressful, your sleep is disturbed, your nutrition isn't absolutely perfect, then you've got to do that. I would say, first of all, do the strength training, and that will get you more cardio benefit than you realize. Make sure you're getting a decent amount of steps in every day, so 5 to 10,000 as a minimum. Definitely not under 5,000. That's very sedentary and you'll struggle to see any weight loss progress and keep it off. And then if you want to add something in, I would probably add something in that's lower impact, that's not too intense. So it could be, like you said, Ben, a gentle run if you love running and you're good at running. If you're not good at running and you have bad knees, don't do running. It could be a swim. It could be, 40-minute swim in the pool. That's something I do quite regularly with my wife. It could be you go on a cycle or you have an exercise bike and you do 30, 40 minutes on that relatively gently as well. But that's all optional and you don't have to do it. It could be you do one of those gym classes you talked about, Ben, that's lower impact. The last thing I'd say on this, and I'll see if you've got anything to add, Ben, is I would just pick stuff that's generally low injury risk, low impact. So probably not things where you're jumping around, doing burpees and box jumps and like CrossFit, but it can be body pump and circuits classes where there's quite a high injury risk. Unless you're already very athletic, you're probably more likely to hurt yourself. So I'd probably pick something that's lower impact. Have you got any other tips for cardio for health?
Definitely. I think one thing I would say is when if you're looking at improving health, it's important to look at your overall health and all of the things that you're doing. So if you look at all of the things which would make up your health, so for example, one of the biggest ones is going to be how much body fat you're carrying. So being overweight or being obese is going to be one of the highest, that's going to give you one of the highest risk factors in terms of your overall health. So if you've got poor cardio fitness, but also you're very overweight as well, then it might be that the first and most important thing for you to tackle might be bringing that body weight down into a healthy level. And then once you've got that down to a healthy level, then maybe the next biggest priority might be that you're then going to improve your cardio fitness. Or similarly, it might be that you look at your overall nutrition and you think, I'm taking in loads of sugar, loads of alcohol. Neither of those things are also going to be very good for my health. So it's important to kind of look in the grand scheme of things. There will be a time when cardio is the most important thing to focus on, and that's the weak link that you want to improve. But make sure that first of all there are not other kind of health markers which are more of an important priority.
Yeah, that's a great point. Those are much more important, and we see clients within 3-4 months, sometimes even quicker. Sometimes within a couple of weeks, we see clients' health markers massively improve. So we have had clients go from being pre-diabetic to no longer pre-diabetic, to having high blood pressure, to having healthy blood pressure. And those things can all be achieved. And they're all achieving that without any, direct, specific cardio exercise. They're doing it with the strength training, plus nutrition improvements, plus sleep improvements, plus other lifestyle improvements. So yeah, that's a really good point. I think people get very hung up on they have to do hard cardio for health when there's so many other things that are more important. So last question then, I'm going to put this one to you, Ben. Baby Smurfette asks, examples of what LIST is, please.
Got it. So LIST, what we mean by that is low impact strength training. The key things with this are, the most important thing is that you're lifting weight in a slow and a controlled way. Now, that doesn't mean you can just pick up any weight. You couldn't just pick up like a 2 kilogram dumbbell and just sort of slowly move that up and down 5 times and say, wow, that's it, I've done my LIST session. It does need to be programmed and structured in a way that's going to deliver results. And I'll just outline what a typical session might look like. The key things are, you're going to be training multiple areas of the body, and you're going to be focusing on the main areas of the body. So our workouts, typically, they'll have, there might be two to three sort of lower body exercises, maybe 2 to 3 upper body exercises, maybe a core exercise or something like that thrown in as well. So overall, we're probably looking at 5 to 6 different exercises for a workout. For each of those exercises, we're going to be doing a number of what's called sets. So a set is basically a kind of a round of exercise. So for each of those exercises, we're going to be doing, let's say, 3 to 4 sets, tends to be a good amount, depending on how it's programmed. This all can vary. And through our program, we kind of change. We will change around the exercises people do, change around the number of exercises, the number of sets, all of these types of things. But typically 3 to 4 sets, will be a good place to start. And with each of these sets, you're going to be doing a number of reps. So reps stands for, it's just shortened version of repetitions. So anywhere from, I'd say for most people starting out, anywhere from kind of 6 to 12 is going to be a good range to start with. So what your workout would look like then, if I was going to do, for example, a set of squats, I might pick up a kettlebell or whatever I have available. It can be anything. It could be dumbbells, kettlebells. It might be at the gym using barbells. It could be on a machine. It can be literally anything, as long as something is giving you resistance. It could even be body weight if you're just starting out. But you start out and then you're going to do 6, 7, 8. Let's say we do 10 squats. So you do 10 squats using a weight, which is basically a weight which is challenging you. So you're going to be using quite a decent amount of weight, so that once you're getting to the end of that set of 10 reps, you're feeling fatigued. You're feeling it in your legs. Your muscles are starting to burn, but you're not going to the point where you've completely kind of exhausted yourself. You're challenging your muscles, but you're not completely exhausting yourself. And you do that set of 10 reps. You then put the weight down. You might rest then for a period of, say, 45 to 90 seconds. Again, we vary the rest periods in our workouts depending on the number of reps, number of sets, all of these different things. But the point is, you'll have a rest and then you'll just repeat that again. 10 more squats, then a rest again, 10 more squats, rest again, 10 more squats. And then you will have done 4 sets of 10 repetitions on squats. And then that's it. We say squats are finished and we move on to the next exercise. Maybe we'll do deadlifts, overhead press, push-ups, rows. Could be anything. Basically, we sort of move around the body, training all of the areas of the body until we've got a nice kind of full body workout, upper body and lower body, using a weight which is basically challenging us as we go through all of those workouts. And there are other ways to program this as well, where you can do certain exercises back to back, or there's lots and lots of different ways to do this. But the key thing is making sure that you are lifting a amount of weight which challenges you. But you want to be careful with this, because you don't want to lift too much weight, because that's going to put you at a risk of injury, especially if you're not used to doing strength training. But you want to be using a challenging weight. You want to be doing rounds of kind of 6 to 12 reps. Maybe sometimes we'll also go up to 15, 20, just depends on the workout. But typically 6 to 12 reps is going to be a good amount, rather than, for example, in a gym class, you might be doing hundreds and hundreds of reps on a certain exercise in something like body pump. So you want to be doing 6 to 12 reps with a weight that challenges you. You want to be doing about 3 to 4 rounds on each exercise, and you just want to be training over the entire body. Again, this could be done with, typically most of our clients will do this with kettlebells from home. So they have fully programmed workouts, which they can follow through step by step. So it makes it very, very easy. And they can just do that with just a few pieces of equipment from home, kettlebells or resistance bands. But you could do this with kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells, any kind of different weight or resistance. And as long as you've kind of ticked those main boxes, that's going to be what list training is. And I realized that, I've used a lot of terminology there, sets, reps, different numbers of each thing, different rest periods, different weights. It can be very difficult to figure out, how much weight should I lift? That's probably one of the most common questions we get on I have some TikTok exercise videos. People are always saying, what weight are you using in this workout? So picking the right weight can be difficult. Knowing how many reps, how many sets, which exercises to choose can be very, very difficult as well. And that's where it can help to just get a program which is designed specifically for women over 40. And if you have that, it's pretty self-explanatory and pretty easy to follow, and you'll see excellent results from doing that.
Yeah, it takes all the guesswork away, doesn't it, of trying to figure it out, because it's surprisingly complicated, making sure you're working all of the muscles in your body every single week. You're pushing muscles, you're pulling muscles, your upper body, your lower body, all the little supporting muscles, your rotator cuffs. You want to have things that help you to be strong against rotation, and you don't get injured when you fall, and all of this stuff. There's a power movement and then strength movements. But we program this for all of our clients, so it's very straightforward. And the last thing I just want to touch on is our clients do 3 30-minute sessions a week. That's it, because it's so effective. It's way more effective than any other form of exercise. They don't have to do loads and loads and loads of time. It's quality, not quantity. So they do 3 30-minute sessions to begin with. They can build that up to doing 45-minute sessions or 4 sessions a week. Typically, though, lots of our clients don't do that. They're very busy, and they still are able to lose 15 to 30 pounds and 1 to 2 stone in 12 weeks or less, tone up all over, and get back into their favorite clothes. So, Ben, we're just bringing this in to land now, but where can people go to find out more about our Fit Over 40 private coaching that we've kind of mentioned here or there today, if they want to find out more details?
To find out more, just head to www.fit40info.com. And basically what you'll get from our private coaching is we will just tell you exactly what to do. So if you like the idea of just being given, here is the workouts to follow, rather than worrying about all these questions, will this work? Will that work? We will just say, here's what works. Here's what's going to work, not only for women over 40, but specifically for you and your situation. So if you just want to get a plan for exactly what's going to work for you, just head to www.fit40info.com and you'll find more information on that page.
That just about wraps up for today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining us again. We'll catch you next time for another episode. We will see you then. If you're fed up with trying everything and seeing no results,
watching your weight creeping up and struggling to fit into your clothes,
and you're looking for the fastest and easiest way to get your ideal weight
and never have to worry about your weight or health again,
you can save yourself years of trial and error by letting us take care of the hard work for you in our Fit Over 40 private coaching program.
Over the past decade, Our world-class team have personally guided more than 7,000 women to take back control of their health and confidence, and more importantly, maintain those results for life.
If you're ready to finally get results that last and find out how we can help you do that too, click the link in the description below to get the full details now.